The rain fell in relentless sheets, a curtain of grey that draped over the vineyards like a heavy shroud. The resort, a blend of old-world charm and modern opulence, loomed ominously against the stormy backdrop, its grandeur diminished by the tempest. Li Wei had arrived in Nashik filled with excitement for a wedding. But what awaited her was a descent into a nightmare that would haunt her long after the rain had ceased. As the storm raged outside, whispers began to slither through the air, soft and insidious, like the rustle of silk caught in a gentle breeze. The first night in her suite, as fatigue wrapped around her like a warm blanket, the whispers coalesced into a haunting melody, a lullaby that beckoned her from the depths of sleep. Just as she surrendered to slumber, she jolted awake, heart racing, the air thick with an unshakable sense of dread. The room was empty, yet the sensation of being watched clung to her, suffocatingly real. The following day, the visions began. She caught sight of the bride, an apparition clad in a vibrant red lehenga, its brilliance marred by dark stains that dripped like fresh blood. The woman's face was a mask of anguish, her eyes hollow as if they had witnessed unspeakable horrors. Li Wei froze, her breath hitching in her throat, and in an instant, the bride vanished, leaving only an echo of despair in her wake. Rohan, her childhood friend and the wedding planner, found her in the garden later that day, her hands trembling as she struggled to light a cigarette. Concern etched across his features. He approached her, his voice gentle. "You okay?" Li Wei shook her head, the words tumbling out in a rush. "I think I'm losing my mind. I saw her, the bride." Rohan's expression shifted, a shadow crossing his face. He took her hands in his and spoke softly. "This place has a history. People say it's haunted." "Haunted? By whom?" she asked, a chill creeping down her spine. "A bride," he replied, his voice barely above a whisper. "She was murdered here, on her wedding night." The weight of his words settled heavily in the air between them, a palpable tension that both terrified and intrigued her. "Why are you telling me this?" she pressed. "Because I think the curse is real, and I think it's targeting you." The admission ignited a spark of fear within her, yet it also drew them closer. The danger of the unknown intertwined with the familiar warmth of their shared past, and they found solace in each other's company. Hours turned into deep conversations, laughter spilling forth as they reminisced about their childhood. In a moment of vulnerability, they kissed, a sweet, electric connection that felt like a culmination of years spent apart. But as they pulled away, Li Wei noticed a flicker of something darker in Rohan's eyes, a hint of fear that sent a shiver down her spine. "Just be careful, okay?" he murmured, his voice laced with an urgency that she couldn't ignore. As the days passed, the visions intensified. The bride's ghostly figure became a more frequent visitor, her presence increasingly menacing. Li Wei would awaken to find the spectre standing at the foot of her bed, the blood-stained lehenga pooling ominously on the floor. The whispers morphed into anguished screams that echoed in her mind, haunting her even in the daylight. Desperate for answers, Li Wei delved into the resort's history, uncovering the tragic tale of Ananya, the bride who had met a gruesome end at the hands of her groom. Jealousy had driven him to madness, and on their wedding night, he had plunged a knife into her heart before turning it upon himself. Their souls, it was said, were trapped in a cycle of violence, forever haunting the halls of the resort, seeking vengeance upon the living. Confronting Rohan was inevitable. "You knew about this, didn't you? That's why you warned me," she said, her voice trembling with a mix of anger and fear. He looked away, shame etched across his features. "I didn't want to believe it, but the curse, it's real, and it's not the bride who's haunting you, it's the groom." The revelation struck Li Wei with the force of a thunderclap, a truth that sent her spiraling into despair. The curse was not merely a tale of a bride seeking revenge. It was a cycle of violence that demanded a new victim. Rohan was now ensnared in the same web of tragedy that had ensnared Ananya. The night of the wedding dawned with a sense of foreboding that hung in the air like the storm clouds overhead. The reception unfolded in a flurry of music and laughter, but Li Wei felt the dread coiling tighter around her heart. It was then she spotted him, the groom's spirit, a shadowy figure whose face twisted with rage, eyes locked onto her with a predatory intensity. "Rohan!" she called, panic surging through her veins. He rushed to her side, urgency in his every step. "We need to leave now!" But the curse had already woven its dark threads around them. The groom's spirit surged forth, invading Rohan's body, forcing him into a role he could not escape. Li Wei's heart shattered as she realized the truth. The curse was not merely a haunting. It was a malevolent force that sought to repeat its horrific cycle, and Rohan was now its unwilling pawn. In a moment of desperation, Li Wei raced through the chaos of the wedding, her heart pounding in her chest. She remembered the tales of the ancient wedding ring that bound the groom's spirit to the resort. If she could find it and destroy it, perhaps she could sever the curse's hold. Amidst the clamor, she found it, an ornate ring hidden in a forgotten corner of the reception hall. With trembling hands, she raised it high and brought it crashing down against the floor. The sound echoed like a gunshot, reverberating through the air. The groom's spirit let out a blood-curdling scream, his form dissipating into the stormy night, the rage that had consumed him finally released. But as the echoes of the curse faded, so too did Rohan. Li Wei fell to her knees, tears streaming down her face as she realized she had lost him in the battle against darkness. The rain continued to pour, relentless and unforgiving, as if the heavens mourned the loss of the love that had just begun to blossom. The next day, she left Nashik, the weight of sorrow heavy on her heart. The rain still fell, drenching the earth as she drove away from the resort that had become a prison of memories. She didn't know if the curse had truly been broken, or if it would one day find her again. But deep down, she understood that this was not the end. The resort remained, its halls echoing with whispers of the past, waiting for the next bride to step into its shadows, unaware of the darkness that lurked beneath the surface. And as the rain continued to fall, the story of love, loss, and haunting would weave itself anew, forever entwined with the fate of those who dared to enter its embrace.